So Audrey, we're back one-on-one, and I'm curious to start with a little bit of kind of how you're wired to do your job. So if I'm going to ask you kind of your magic, and we talked about the magic is that you bring order to chaos. Tell me what a really good day is for you. What does a great day look like?
I do like things to be organized, but I feel like that doesn't happen very often. So, your day gets derailed pretty easily by interruptions and things like that. So just kind of have to be flexible and roll with things. But I personally like there to be a good mix of, in-person, social, interactive time, but then also enough time to catch up on emails and not feel behind. Because I prefer to be with people and face to face or even virtually, but having those connections with people. But then you have 8 of those back to back, and you get to your end of the day, and you have 200 emails you haven't looked at, and then the stress starts to boil up.
Yeah,
so
right.
I think just having a day that's balanced between being able to sit down and get some work done, but then also being able to have that human connection with people would be a good day for me.
Now, you talked a little bit about listening, that you're doing more listening. What format does that take? How is that working in? Do you have like focus groups, or is it certain individuals, or is it more ambient as you're going through? What are you picking up when you're in that kind of listening tour mode?
It's usually conversations.
Okay.
So if I'm approaching a new project and sitting down with the people that are going to be using the space, just asking them those questions of, who they are, what do they do, how are they using the space, how do they hope others will use the space, just kind of hearing what they have to say about their goals and what they hope the space will be.
So over the past year or so, what are some common themes that you're picking up that are helping you adjust, your approach to the environment that you're in?
I think some common themes that I've been hearing is attraction. We were hearing that before in more corporate settings of, we want to attract talent. And that's true in universities always as well. But now it's not only do we want to attract them to come to the university, we want to attract them to physically show up in person to things. Where they might have the option to show up or to not show up, we want to create a space where they do show up, where we can create that community and the opportunity for intersection. So that's been a common goal when looking at a new space, is providing amenities that will attract people to come and then to stay.
Now you're saying you shared that you're seeing some improvement, more people are coming back. What are some of the things that people like that you're doing when they do come back?
This will sound funny and obvious, but power.
Oh, having
power. I mean, if you don't have power in a space, a student will not come and stay. It's just, it's such a simple thing, but it's so critical. And it's not always easy to provide because you're in a building that's, 50, maybe even 100 years old, and you're trying to figure out how to get power to the students so that they can plug in and stay.
Wow, that's been a 40-year, when I first started and the cubicles had no power, we were drilling them, core drilling into the floor with these, they called them tombstones, monuments. Power is still the constraint. Now, as you're working within the university, who are some of the other departments you've got to work with and coordinate with?
Everybody.
Okay.
It's
well, you've got the user group.
Yeah.
And then construction folks too?
Yeah, so we have facilities teams, so project managers, which we work very closely with, obviously. And then we have our end users, which are essentially like our clients. I describe my department as a mini design firm within a university, and the end users are our clients. So we get to work with them. But then we also have our vendors and we have our manufacturers. And so, there's people throughout the city that we're pulling into this design process. And there's a lot of players at the table. And so it's fun because I'm always meeting new people, and every project is unique, and every every time we start a new project, there's different people at the table, but then there's also some of the same people at the table. So yeah, it's keeps things interesting.
Now, most of the work is with the hospital and the labs. And what's kind of the ratio behind, I do this much with classrooms, but this much with the hospital and the labs?
Our medical facility is definitely the most active space changers, we'll say.
Okay.
On the other campus, you have the School of Engineering, you have the School of Arts and Sciences, and the Architecture and Design School. And so each of them has a handful of buildings that are theirs. And so they make changes within their buildings. They'll move people around, but it's all kind of their space. At the medical campus, we have all these departments in all these different buildings, and they're all kind of sharing the spaces, and one might outgrow a space and need to move to another space. And so there's constant shuffling at the medical campus. So it creates a lot more work for us. And so I feel like we do spend more of our time just kind of by the nature of the way that they're always shuffling over there. And they're growing and expanding and changing more quickly.
Yeah. Is that the challenge, keeping up with the change, or one of the challenges?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting though to always have a space that you're trying to change and make work for somebody. But then also, I've been there 8 years now, so I've seen spaces cycle, where I'm like, oh, I already worked on this space, and now here I am working on it again. So it makes you think about your initial decision of, when we change this space, because I know we will, can I make a decision now that will serve a different purpose in the future, where we can maybe repurpose some of this. It could be moved with the department, or it could be changed to make it more functional for the next group that's going to be in here.
Yeah, it's great to have kind of that arc of seeing down the road. Do you get involved with helping new users buy into, adapt? The big word is change management. Is that part of the role that you've got, or does somebody else get to play that role?
A little bit. Luckily, it's not a huge part of what I do, but I do feel like when I'm suggesting a design or layout, I am having to explain the reason for what I'm proposing and how I've seen it maybe work or not work in the past. So there is a lot of, people ask for things that are not what they actually want. They think that they want something. Even simple, within their own private office, they'll ask for the desk to be oriented a certain way, and I have to explain to them why, having a 1 foot walkway around your desk is going to be problematic in the future. So sometimes you have to walk people through. Here's what you asked for. Here's why that won't work. Here's a solution that will work, and I think will actually meet the need that you're trying to express. So you do kind of have to walk people through that process sometimes.
So which part of your constituency has the most complex needs and the biggest challenges?
That's a good
The other
question.
way I was going to ask it is, which group is the hardest group to work with? But this is
the neediest.
This is a more politically correct way to ask it. So, and is it the space issues that are complex, or is it the people dynamics that are complex?
Both.
Okay.
I do feel like people are harder to navigate than people issues are harder to navigate than space issues.
Yeah.
Usually there's always a solution for a space issue if you put your head down and come up with it. So getting people's buy-in and helping them to envision what you're envisioning, and that what you're proposing is the best solution. And sometimes people ask for things, they want 25 purposes for one item, and you have to kind of navigate through that and prioritize and find the right solution.
Help manage their expectations.
Yes. Expectation management is a big part of what I do.
Do they ever get unrealistic expectations?
do they ever have them, or do they ever get what they want?
Yeah, do they ever? Yeah, of course they do. That was rhetorical, but yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a big part, and I don't think everybody knows. When you go to design school, were you ever trained in managing stakeholder expectations?
No, absolutely not. I didn't know that I'd have to crawl under desks to look at manufacturer tags, and I didn't know that I would have to manage expectations.
What else did they not prepare you for in this role?
Oh, how long is this? No, they teach some of the basics, and then 95% of what you learn is by doing it and being on the job.
Right. And if you were to go to another institution, it would be a whole nother set of things that you would have to just learn by being on the job.
Yeah.
What do you feel like has been your best asset in mastering this role with this particular organization or institution?
I think you have to have a lot of patience.
Okay.
People can be demanding, and some people are very pleasant to work with and very accommodating, and some people are rightfully so, they're out there curing cancer, and they're like, why is this so hard to pick out a chair? And they get frustrated with the process, and sometimes aren't always pleasant, and so just having patience to understand where they're coming from, and to remember that I'm serving them, that I need to help them, but then to also kind of guide them into the right decision. So it's kind of that balance of giving them what they've asked for, and managing their expectations, and providing them a solution that's gonna work for everybody.
And that means you need to rely on lots of support, people who have information. When you look at a supplier, they provide more than just good service and good product. Your better suppliers, what do they do to help you be better at your job?
I mean, support is just a really big part of that. And so...
and what does that look like?
That can be anything from helping come up with solutions, but then also just when and if something goes wrong, because things always go wrong. It's how they support you in those times. So if a manufacturer has provided a product and it breaks, how quick are they able and ready to fix it? And parts and labor warranty is so important to a university, because we purchased it and we now no longer have funds to fix it. It has to, it has to perform for years and years and years. And so partnering with both manufacturers, but also our local vendors that are selling it to us, that we are going to be supported after we purchase something for years to come, to have that serviced and continue to keep things functioning the way they're supposed to be functioning for years.
And because everybody's coming up with new solutions every year, right? We just had a big trade show I mentioned earlier where all the new bells and whistles and new solutions came out. How often do you get a chance, or do you need to be refreshed on what's current?
A lot. I feel like our attention is pulled in 100 different directions. And so, I might be shown something and then I forgot that I was shown that. And so I need to be shown it again. Okay. Or you see it, and at the moment you saw it, you didn't need it. And then 6 months later, you're like, oh, what was that? Right. What was that I saw? Who showed that to me? Yeah. So, I do need to be reminded of things that I've been told before. And so it's good to see things. And even to go to a trade show like NeoCon and see a product that you already knew existed, but then to see how the manufacturer is proposing that you maybe pair it with something else, or how you set it up in a way that is maybe new and different. So it's... those trade shows are very valuable, because you just get to see and touch and feel. Designers like to touch things, and so I want to sit in the chair. I want to see how it feels. I want to see, you see a picture of it, but sometimes you don't understand the scale when it's in a room or in a space. And so it's always valuable to kick the tires and and look at things in person.
Yeah, I guess that's why I go every year. Yeah, to touch for myself. Mm-hmm. Now, I had a client one time say, I'm a just-in-time, problem solver. I don't want to know all your stuff until I need it, and then I need you to respond quickly. And it seems like with all the information overload that you need somebody who knows you enough that when you have a need, you can go back and say, hey, what was that thing we talked about 6 months ago or something like that.
Yeah.
So the thing that you enjoy most about your job, what do you enjoy most?
So before I was at a university, I worked at a furniture dealer, and that provided a really valuable foundation for me in just knowledge and understanding. But what I really like about being on the facility side is that I make a decision, I put it into action, and then I watch it work or not work for the next however many years. And so I get to see how products are performing. I get to see how they're used. I can't tell you how many times I've done a layout of a space, and then we install it, and I go 6 months later and they've moved everything. So just being able to see how things work or how things don't work is such valuable knowledge to have, that I think that's probably been the most rewarding and also educational part of just watching how spaces evolve over time.
Let's forward 2 years from now, okay? With all the things that have churned over the last few years, the lessons learned from the pandemic, where your university is going, adjusting to hybrid, repurposing, libraries and secondary spaces. Where do you think you will be in 2 years in terms of the kinds of solutions and projects you'll be working on?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
It's hard to kind of predict where things are going to go. I think, like I mentioned before, that we're starting to see how we can create spaces that is a place people desire to be at and to go to, even if they're on a Zoom classroom.
Yeah.
Because people do desire to be around people, even if they're not, the person sitting next to them is in a different class, essentially. Yeah. And I think that's okay. So I see that happening more and more, and that becoming a higher priority. I will be interested to see, as education evolves, how the spaces kind of evolve as well. I don't know what it'll look like.
Yeah, we're all going to stay tuned with that and look for it. Well, Audrey, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming to Huntingburg, to spending time with us, and to sitting down to hear a little bit more about what you do. And I appreciate what you've shared with everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.